While the battle raged in space above Earth, something far more significant was happening deep beneath the planet's surface. In cities that had existed for millions of years, billions of humans were awakening from their peaceful lives to prepare for war. These were not the humans the aliens had observed on the surface. These were something completely different. Engineer Peter King stood in the central control room of Deep City Alpha, located 15 miles beneath what the surface world knew as the Sahara Desert. The room was massive, with walls that stretched up so high they disappeared into darkness. Holographic displays filled the air, showing the status of defense systems that spanned the entire planet. "Sir, the Deep Shield network is at full power," reported one of his technicians. "All 2 million generators are online and functioning perfectly," Peter nodded as he studied the displays. The Deep Shield network was humanity's greatest defensive achievement. It had taken 30 million years to build, with generators placed in precise locations throughout Earth's crust. The network could protect the planet from any attack, even if someone tried to destroy the entire world. "Good," Peter replied. "Now activate the planetary core tap. We're going to need all the power we can get." The planetary core tap was exactly what its name suggested. It was a system that drew energy directly from Earth's molten core, providing unlimited power for humanity's weapons and defenses. The technology was so advanced that it could power the entire galactic civilization for millions of years, without affecting the planet's stability. In another part of the underground complex, Dr. Helen Price was overseeing the awakening of Earth's true population. The humans who lived on the surface numbered only about 8 billion people. But that was nothing compared to the population that lived beneath the surface. "How many are responding to the activation call?" Dr. Price asked her assistant. "All of them, ma'am. Every deep city is reporting full activation. We're looking at approximately 400 billion humans ready for combat operations." Dr. Price smiled grimly. The surface humans had no idea that they were outnumbered 50-1 by their underground relatives. These deep humans have been bred and trained for warfare over thousands of generations. They were stronger, faster, and smarter than surface humans. More importantly, they had been preparing for this war their entire lives. Commander Brad Lopez was one of these enhanced humans. He stood 7 feet tall, with muscles that could crush steel and reflexes that were too fast for normal eyes to follow. His intelligence was enhanced by genetic modifications that had been perfected over millions of years. He was one of Earth's super soldiers, and he had been waiting his entire life for this moment. "Squad leaders, report to the armory," Brad announced over the communication system. "Full combat deployment in 30 minutes. The armory was a sight that would have amazed anyone from the surface world. Weapons that looked like they belonged in fantasy stories lined the walls. But these weren't magical weapons. They were the result of millions of years of technological development. Each weapon was powered by technology that could manipulate the basic forces of reality. Brad picked up his personal weapon, a rifle that could fire bullets made of condensed gravity. The bullets were invisible and could pass through any known armor. When they hit their target, they would create a small black hole that would consume anything within a few feet. It was a weapon that could kill gods, and Brad carried it like it was a simple tool. "Sir, the surface teams are requesting support," reported one of his sergeants. "The alien ground forces are trying to land in major cities." Brad smiled, showing teeth that had been enhanced to be stronger than diamonds. "Perfect. It's time to show these aliens what real humans look like." The underground cities had transport systems that could move armies across the planet in minutes. These weren't simple tunnels or trains. They were teleportation networks that could instantly transport people and equipment anywhere on Earth. The technology was so advanced that it could move entire cities if necessary. Within minutes, Brad and his team were standing in a transport chamber beneath New York City. The chamber was filled with soldiers who looked like they had stepped out of a science fiction movie. Each one was enhanced beyond what normal humans could achieve, and each one carried weapons that could reshape reality itself. "Remember, "We want some of them alive for questioning," Brad told his team. "But don't take any unnecessary risks. These aliens have been conquering worlds for thousands of years. They know how to fight." The transport chamber activated, and suddenly, Brad and his team were standing on the surface of Manhattan. The city looked normal except for the alien ships that were trying to land in Central Park. The ships were large, heavily armed, and filled with Zephyrian soldiers who expected to face primitive humans with simple weapons. The first alien soldier to emerge from the landing ship was 8 feet tall and covered in armor that could stop any known bullet. His weapon was an energy rifle that could vaporize anything it hit. He had conquered dozens of worlds and killed thousands of enemies. He was confident and experienced. He lasted exactly 3 seconds against Brad's team. The alien soldier never saw Brad move. One moment the human was standing 50 feet away, and the next moment he was directly in front of the alien, moving faster than physics should have allowed. Brad's enhanced fist struck the alien's chest armor and went completely through it, along with the alien's body. "Contact," Brad reported calmly as he pulled his hand free from the dead alien, beginning cleanup operations. The battle that followed was less of a fight and more of a demonstration. The alien soldiers were experienced warriors who had conquered hundreds of worlds, but they had never faced anything like Earth's enhanced humans. The surface humans they had observed were nothing compared to these super soldiers. Brad's team moved through the alien forces like they were cutting through paper. Their weapons turned alien soldiers into clouds of atoms. Their speed made them nearly impossible to target. Their strength allowed them to tear apart alien armor with their bare hands. Within 10 minutes, the entire alien landing force was destroyed. Not a single human soldier had been injured. The aliens' advanced armor and weapons had been completely useless against humanity's true military force. "Sir, we have survivors for questioning," reported one of Brad's sergeants. 3 aliens are still alive." Brad looked down at the surviving aliens, who were staring at him with terror in their eyes. These were warriors who had faced death many times, but they had never seen anything like what they had just witnessed. "Where are you from?" Brad asked in perfect Zephyrian. His enhanced brain had learned their language from radio intercepts. "Years ago." How do you know our language?" One of the aliens stammered. "We've been listening to your communications for decades," Brad replied. "We know everything about your empire, your technology, and your military capabilities. The question is, why did you think you could conquer Earth?" The alien soldiers looked at each other in confusion. "You're just humans. You're supposed to be primitive. Your technology is thousands of years behind ours." Brad laughed, and the sound was terrifying. "The technology you observed was what we wanted you to see. Our real technology is millions of years ahead of yours. We'd been waiting for someone like you to test it on." Meanwhile, in other cities around the world, similar battles were taking place. Alien landing forces were being destroyed by human soldiers who seemed to possess superhuman abilities. The aliens had expected to face frightened civilians and poorly equipped military forces. Instead, they were being hunted by super soldiers who treated their advanced weapons like toys. Dr. Helen Price was monitoring the battles from her control room deep beneath the surface. Every engagement was going exactly as planned. The aliens were being defeated so easily that it was almost embarrassing. "Ma'am, the surface governments are requesting an explanation," reported one of her assistants. "They want to know where these enhanced soldiers came from." "Tell them the truth," Dr. Price replied. "These soldiers are what humans become when they're properly prepared for war. The surface population has been living in peace for so long that they've forgotten what we're really capable of." The truth was more complex than that. The enhanced humans were the result of millions of years of genetic engineering and technological advancement. They were what humanity had become in the deep. Cities where every generation was improved upon the last. They were the ultimate expression of human potential, and they had been created for one purpose: to defend Earth from alien invasion. As the day ended, The results were clear. The alien ground forces had been completely destroyed. Their ships had been torn apart by weapons they couldn't understand. Their most experienced soldiers had been defeated by humans who seemed to possess abilities that defied all logic. Commander Vextel was beginning to understand that his empire had made a terrible mistake. These weren't primitive humans. They were something far more dangerous. They were a species that had been preparing for war for millions of years, and they were very good at it. The third day of the ultimatum arrived with Commander Vextel growing impatient. He had expected the humans to surrender by now, just like every other species had done. Instead, Earth's governments were still holding meetings and making speeches about resistance. The commander found their defiance amusing but pointless. "Sir, should we begin the demonstration attack?" asked his tactical officer. "A few destroyed cities usually convince them to surrender." Vextel nodded his large head. "Select their largest population centers. Destroy 3 of them completely. That should end their foolish resistance." On Earth, Captain Jake Morrison was back at his defense station, but everything looked different now. The equipment he had thought was humanity's most advanced technology now seemed like toys compared to what he had seen underground. But he had been ordered to act normal, to let the aliens think they were facing primitive defenses. "Captain, we're getting massive energy readings from the alien fleet," reported Lieutenant Amy Foster. "They're charging their weapons." Jake felt his heart racing, but he remembered Dr. Stone's words. Earth had been preparing for this moment for millions of years. "All stations, prepare for incoming attack. Activate emergency protocols." In space, the Zephyrian warships moved into attack position. Their massive energy cannons began glowing with deadly light. These weapons had destroyed countless cities on hundreds of worlds. Each blast could vaporize everything within 50 miles. "Fire!" commanded Vextel. Beams of pure energy shot down from the alien ships toward Earth. The first target was New York City, home to 8 million people. The energy beam was bright enough to be seen from space as it struck the city, but instead of the expected explosion and destruction, something impossible happened. The energy beam hit what appeared to be empty air above the city and simply disappeared. It was as if the beam had struck an invisible wall and been absorbed completely. "What happened?" Vextel demanded. "Where is the explosion?" "His weapons." Officer was staring at his instruments in confusion. "Sir, our energy readings show the beam was absorbed by some kind of shield, but we detected no shield generators on the planet." "Impossible," Vextel snarled. "Fire again. All weapons, maximum power." The alien fleet unleashed everything they had at Earth's major cities. Hundreds of energy beams struck the planet simultaneously. Each beam carried enough power to destroy a mountain. But every single beam was absorbed by invisible shields that seemed to appear from nowhere deep beneath the surface. Major Tony Blake was coordinating Earth's real defenses from a control room that existed 5 miles underground. The walls around him were covered with displays showing the alien attack and Earth's response. He smiled grimly as he watched the alien weapons fail completely. "Shield generators are working perfectly," reported one of his technicians. "The alien energy is being absorbed and converted to power for our own systems." "Good," Tony replied. "Now show them what real weapons look like." Across Earth's surface, things that had appeared to be hills and mountains began to change. The ground split open, revealing massive structures that rose slowly into the air. These were not the primitive missile silos the aliens had observed. They were weapons platforms that looked like they belonged in a science fiction movie. The first gravity cannon fired from a hidden position in the Rocky Mountains. The weapon didn't shoot energy or missiles. Instead, it created a focused gravity field that could tear apart anything it touched. The beam was invisible, but its effects were immediate and devastating. The gravity field struck the nearest Zephyrian warship and twisted into a spiral of metal and plastic. The ship's hull folded in on itself like paper being crushed by an invisible hand. In seconds, a vessel that had been half a mile long was compressed into a ball of wreckage the size of a car. Commander Vexthal watched in horror as his ship was destroyed by a weapon he had never seen before. What was that? Where did that attack come from? Before anyone could answer, more gravity cannons fired from hidden positions around the world. Ship after ship in the alien fleet was twisted into scrap metal. The Zephyrians tried to return fire, but their weapons were still being absorbed by Earth's invisible shields. "Sir, we're losing ships faster than we can count them," reported the tactical officer. "These aren't primitive weapons." "I don't know what they are, but they're more advanced than anything in our database." Captain Nina Ross was having the time of her life. She sat in the cockpit of what appeared to be a simple atmospheric fighter, but she knew the truth. Her ship was equipped with technology that the aliens couldn't even imagine. She had been training for this moment her entire life. "This is Fighter Wing Alpha," she reported over the radio. "Beginning attack run." Her fighter looked like it belonged in a museum compared to the alien starships. But when Nina activated her ship's true capabilities, it became something completely different. The fighter's hull shimmered and became nearly invisible. Its engines, which had seemed capable of only atmospheric flight, suddenly accelerated the ship to speeds that would have been impossible for any normal aircraft. Nina's fighter shot up through Earth's atmosphere and into space in less than 10 seconds. The alien ships tried to track her, but their sensors couldn't lock onto her position. She was moving too fast, and her ship's stealth systems were too advanced. "Target acquired," Nina said as she lined up her first shot. Her weapons weren't the simple missiles the aliens expected. They were phased torpedoes that could pass through solid matter and explode inside enemy ships. The first torpedo passed through the hull of a Zephyrian cruiser without leaving a hole. The alien crew didn't even know they had been hit until the torpedo exploded inside their engine room. The ship's power core overloaded, sending chains of explosions throughout the vessel. More human fighters appeared in space, each one as advanced as Nina's ship. They moved like schools of fish, appearing and disappearing faster than the alien weapons could track them. The Zephyrians had expected to face primitive aircraft with simple weapons. Instead, they were being hunted by fighters that seemed to ignore the laws of physics. "Sir, we need to retreat," the tactical officer told Commander Vexthal. "We've lost over 100 ships, and we haven't destroyed a single human target." Vexthal's pride wouldn't let him accept defeat so easily. "Impossible? These are primitive humans. They can't have technology more advanced than ours." But the evidence was impossible to ignore. Every Zephyrian attack had failed completely, while the human weapons were destroying alien ships with ease. The humans weren't just fighting back. They were winning. On the surface, Jake Morrison was watching the battle through his station's sensors. What he saw amazed him. The alien fleet that had seemed so terrifying was being torn apart by weapons he had never known existed. Earth's fighters were dancing through space like they were performing a ballet, destroying enemy ships with weapons that seemed like magic. "Captain, we're getting a message from the alien commander," Amy reported. "He wants to talk." Jake smiled. "Put him through?" Commander Vexthal's face appeared on the screen, but he looked very different than he had 2 days ago. His confidence was gone, replaced by fear and confusion. "Human Commander, I demand to know how you developed such advanced weapons." "These aren't our advanced weapons," Jake replied, remembering his orders. "These are just our basic defensive systems." "You haven't seen anything yet." The alien commander's eyes widened with terror. "Impossible. No species has technology this advanced." "You're wrong," Jake said calmly. "We do, and we've been waiting for someone like you to test it on." The communication ended, leaving Commander Vexthal staring at a blank screen. Around him, his fleet was being systematically destroyed by weapons that seemed to come from the distant future. He had expected an easy conquest, but instead he had found the most dangerous enemy the Zephyrian Empire had ever faced in the underground. Control room, Major Tony Blake was watching the battle with satisfaction. The first phase of Earth's defense had worked perfectly. The aliens had been completely surprised by humanity's true capabilities. "Sir, the alien fleet is starting to retreat," reported one of his officers. "Let them go," Tony replied. "But make sure they understand that this was just the beginning. If they want to see what our real weapons can do, they're welcome to stay and find out." The first battle was over, but the war was just beginning. The aliens had learned that Earth was not the primitive world they had expected. Now they would have to decide whether to retreat in shame or stay and face humanity's full power. The second day of the alien ultimatum began with Captain Jake Morrison receiving orders that made no sense. He was told to report to a location that didn't exist on any map he had ever seen. The coordinates led to what appeared to be an empty field in Nevada, but his orders were clear and came directly from General Carter. Jake drove his Jeep across the desert, following his GPS until it told him he had arrived. But there was nothing there except sand and rocks. He checked his coordinates 3 times, wondering if he had made a mistake. Then the ground began to move. What Jake had thought was solid Earth suddenly split open, revealing a massive elevator platform. The technology was unlike anything he had seen before. The platform was big enough to hold his Jeep and rose silently. From underground, Jake felt his heart racing as he realized that everything he thought he knew about Earth's military was wrong. The elevator carried him down for what felt like miles. When it finally stopped, Jake found himself in a vast underground complex that seemed to stretch forever in every direction. The walls were made of some kind of metal that glowed with a soft blue light. The technology around him looked more advanced than anything in science fiction movies. "Welcome to Deep Base 7, said a voice behind him. Jake turned to see Dr. Alex Stone walking toward him. The scientist was a tall, thin man with gray hair and eyes that seemed to hold too many secrets. "I know this is overwhelming, Captain, but you need to understand what you're really fighting for." Jake followed Dr. Stone through corridors filled with equipment he couldn't identify. They passed rooms where people worked at computers that seemed to respond to thoughts rather than touch. Other rooms contained what looked like weapons, but they were shaped like nothing Jake had ever seen. "How long has this place existed?" Jake asked as they walked. "This particular base was built about 50,000 years ago," Dr. Stone replied, casually, "but the network of underground cities is much older. We've been digging and building for over 60 million years. Jake stopped walking. "That's impossible. Humans haven't existed that long." Dr. Stone smiled sadly. "That's what we wanted everyone to believe. The truth is much more complicated, Captain, and much more dangerous." They entered a large room that looked like a museum. The walls were covered with displays showing artifacts, cave paintings, and what appeared to be ancient photographs. But the images showed things that couldn't exist. Humans fighting alongside dinosaurs. Spacecraft that looked like they belonged in the distant future. Cities that were clearly not from any known civilization. "Sit down, Captain," Dr. Stone said, pointing to a chair. "What I'm about to tell you will change everything you think you know about human history." Jake sat down, feeling like the world was spinning around him. Dr. Stone activated a holographic display that showed Earth as it appeared millions of years ago. The planet looked different, with continents in the wrong places and oceans that no longer existed. 65 million years ago, Earth was home to 2 intelligent species, Dr. Stone began. The dinosaurs had evolved into a space-faring civilization. They had cities, technology, and even colonies on other worlds. But they were not alone. The display changed to show spacecraft landing on the ancient Earth. The ships were clearly not built by dinosaurs. They were sleek, deadly-looking vessels that Jake somehow recognized, even though he had never seen them before. "The first alien invasion of Earth happened during the age of dinosaurs," Dr. Stone continued. "The invaders were called the Krell. They were a warrior race that conquered worlds for sport. They had destroyed hundreds of civilizations before they came to Earth. Jake watched in fascination as the display showed the war between the Krell and the dinosaurs. The dinosaurs fought bravely, but their technology was no match for the alien invaders. City after city fell to the Krell weapons. But the dinosaurs were not the only intelligent species on Earth, Dr. Stone said. Humans had also evolved, but we were much smaller and less advanced. We lived in caves and used simple tools. The Krell ignored us completely. The display showed early humans hiding in caves while the war raged above them. Jake could see that these ancient humans looked different from modern people. They were shorter, with larger eyes and stronger bodies. The dinosaurs were losing the war, Dr. Stone continued. In desperation, they made a deal with the humans. They would share their technology and knowledge with us if we would help them fight the Krell. The humans agreed. What happened next amazed Jake. The display showed humans and dinosaurs working together, building weapons and spacecraft. The humans learned quickly, much faster than the dinosaurs had expected. Within a few years, humans were creating technology that even the dinosaurs didn't understand. The combined forces of humans and dinosaurs managed to defeat the Krell, Dr. Stone explained. But the war left Earth badly damaged. The dinosaurs were dying out, and the planet's climate was changing. The dinosaurs made one final decision. The display showed a massive explosion that covered the entire planet. Jake realized he was watching the event that scientists called the meteor impact that killed the dinosaurs. The dinosaurs sacrificed themselves to save Earth, Dr. Stone said quietly. They triggered a planet-wide reset that would hide all evidence of advanced civilization. The explosion made it look like a meteor had hit Earth, but before they died, they gave humanity everything they had learned. Jake felt tears in his eyes as he watched the last dinosaurs disappear in the explosion. They saved us. Yes, Doctor, Stone replied, and they gave us a warning. The Krell were not the only hostile species in the galaxy. There would be others. Humanity had to be ready for the next invasion. The display changed to show humans moving underground after the explosion. They built cities deep beneath the surface, far from where anyone would ever look. They preserved all the technology and knowledge they had gained from the dinosaurs. For 65 million years, we have been preparing, Dr. Stone said. Every generation has added to our knowledge and our defenses. We have built weapons that can destroy stars. We have created ships that can travel through time. We have turned Earth into the most defended planet in the galaxy. Jake looked around the room with new eyes. But why keep it secret? Why let the world think we're primitive? Because the best defense is one your enemy doesn't know exists, Dr. Stone replied. The aliens above us think they're facing a primitive world. They have no idea that they're actually facing the descendants of the species that defeated the Krell. At that moment, Colonel Ryan Adams entered the room. He was a big, serious man who looked like he had seen too many battles. Dr. Stone, we need to show Captain Morrison the archive. They walked deeper into the underground complex, eventually reaching a room that was filled with what looked like crystal storage devices. Each crystal glowed with a different color, and Jake could somehow sense that they contained vast amounts of information. This is the genetic archive, Dr. Stone explained. Every human who has ever lived, every piece of knowledge we have gained, every weapon we have built, it's all stored here. And it's all connected to archives on thousands of other worlds. Jake stared at the crystals. Other worlds? Colonel Adams nodded. The humans you see on Earth's surface are only a small part of our species, Captain. We have colonies throughout the galaxy. We've been watching and waiting for the next invasion for millions of years. The Zephyrians think they're the first aliens to find Earth, Dr. Stone added. They have no idea that we've been watching them for centuries. We know everything about their technology, their tactics, and their weaknesses. Jake felt a strange mixture of fear and excitement. So we can win? Captain, Colonel Adams said with a grim smile, we've already won. The Zephyrians just don't know it yet. As they walked back through the underground complex, Jake saw things that made him realize just how unprepared the aliens were. Humans work with technology that seemed like magic, weapons that could bend reality itself, ships that could appear and disappear at will. Tomorrow, the real war begins, Dr. Stone said as they reached the elevator. And the Zephyrians are about to learn why Earth has never been successfully conquered. Jake returned to the surface with his mind reeling. Everything he had believed about humanity was wrong. They were not a young primitive species struggling to survive. They were the heirs to millions of years of preparation and the guardians of secrets that could reshape the galaxy dot above them. The alien fleet waited confidently for humanity's surrender. But Jake now knew that the aliens had made a terrible mistake. They had declared war on the wrong planet. The stars above Earth had never looked so threatening. Commander Vexto stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the small blue planet through the massive viewing window. His forearms crossed behind his back as he studied the world that would soon belong to the Zephyrian Empire. This would be conquest number 301, just another primitive world to add to their collection. "Sir, we are in position," reported his navigation officer. The purple-skinned alien's voice carried the same bored tone that had become common among the crew. After so many easy victories, conquering worlds had become routine work. Vextol nodded his large head. His black eyes reflected the light from the planet below. "Begin the standard scan. I want to know everything about their military capabilities." Within the hour, the bridge filled with the soft hum of scanning equipment. Dozens of Zephyrian technicians worked at their stations, gathering data about Earth's defenses. The information that came back was exactly what they expected. Simple rockets that could barely reach their own moon. A few space stations that looked like metal boxes floating in orbit. Ground-based weapons that seemed primitive compared to Zephyrian technology. "Sir, their most advanced weapons appear to be nuclear missiles," reported the tactical officer. "Their largest ships can carry maybe 50 crew members. They have no energy shields, no faster-than-light travel, and no plasma weapons." Vextor allowed himself a small smile. His pointed teeth gleamed in the bridge lighting. "Perfect. Another? Easy conquest. Prepare the standard surrender message." Meanwhile, on Earth, Captain Jake Morrison was having his morning coffee when the alarm started screaming. He dropped his mug and ran to the command center of the North American Defense Station. The hot liquid splashed across the floor, but Jake didn't notice. His mind was focused on the flashing red lights that meant only one thing. "Talk to me, people," Jake shouted as he entered the command center. "What are we looking at?" Lieutenant Amy Foster turned from her console, her face pale. "Sir, we have multiple contacts in high orbit. The computer counts at least 500. Ships, maybe more. They're big, sir. Really big." Jake felt his heart skip a beat. This was the moment they had all been trained for, but somehow he had hoped it would never come. "Are we sure they're hostile?" "We're about to find out," Amy replied. "They're sending us a message." The main screen flickered to life, showing the face of Commander Vextol. The alien's appearance was frightening enough, but his words were worse. "Primitive humans of Earth," the alien began in perfect English. "I am Commander Vextol of the Zephyrian Empire. Your world now belongs to us." Jake watched in silence as the alien continued. "You have 7 days to surrender completely. Lay down all weapons, disband your military forces, and prepare for integration into our empire. If you refuse, we will destroy every city on your planet. We have done this 300 times before. Do not make this difficult." The message ended, leaving the command center in complete silence. Jake looked around at his team. These were good people, trained soldiers who had dedicated their lives to protecting Earth. But how could they fight against 500 alien warships? "Get me General Carter," Jake said quietly. "Emergency priority." Within minutes, the secure communication line connected Jake to General Lisa Carter at Strategic Defense Command. The general's face appeared on screen, and Jake could see that she had already received the same message. "Jake, I need you to stay calm," General Carter said. This is what we've been preparing for. Contact all defense stations and tell them to move to condition red. But Jake, remember your training. This is not what it appears to be. Jake frowned. Ma'am, with respect, we're looking at 500 alien warships. How is this not what it appears to be? General Carter's expression became serious. Because, Captain, those aliens have no idea what they're actually facing. Get your people ready, but don't panic. Earth has been preparing for this day for a very long time. The call ended, leaving Jake with more questions than answers. But he followed orders. Within the hour, every defense station on Earth was on full alert. Military personnel who had been on leave were called back to duty. Civilians were told to stay indoors and monitor emergency broadcast dot in his flagship above Earth. Commander Vextel was pleased with the panic he could see spreading across the planet. Their satellites showed increased military activity, which was normal. Most species tried to resist at first. It never worked. Sir, we're detecting some unusual energy readings from the planet, reported his science officer. There seems to be significant electromagnetic activity coming from underground. Vextel waved a dismissive hand. Probably their primitive power systems overloading from fear. These humans are even more backward than our intelligence suggested. What the Zephyrians didn't know was that deep beneath Earth's surface, ancient systems were coming online. Systems that had been built over millions of years. Systems that had been waiting for exactly this moment. Dr. Alex Stone stood in a control room that existed 3 miles below the surface of Colorado. The room was filled with technology that looked nothing like the primitive equipment the aliens had observed. Holographic displays showed the position of every alien ship. Energy readings that would have amazed the Zephyrians filled the air. It's time, Dr. Stone said to his team. Wake up the deep cities. Activate the shield generators, and send word to the colonies. His assistant, Dr. Helen Price, looked worried. Are you sure we're ready for this? It's been 65 million years since the last invasion. Dr. Stone smiled grimly. We've been ready for this since the dinosaurs died. The question is whether these aliens are ready for us. Above ground, Jake Morrison was trying to keep his team calm. The alien deadline was still 6 days away, but everyone was nervous. Earth's governments were holding emergency meetings. The president had addressed the nation, telling everyone to remain calm and trust in their military, but Jake knew something the public didn't. During his years of training, he had learned that Earth's military was much more than it appeared. There were bases that didn't exist on any map, weapons that were never discussed in public, and personnel who seemed to know things they shouldn't know. As the first day of the alien ultimatum ended, Jake received another call from General Carter. This time, her expression was different. She looked confident, almost eager. Jake, tomorrow, you're going to see things that will surprise you, the general said. But remember, everything you've learned about Earth's defenses is just the beginning. We are not the primitive world these aliens think we are. Ma'am, I don't understand. Jake replied, our most advanced fighters are barely capable of reaching orbit. How can we fight ships that travel between stars? General Carter's smile was cold. Because, Captain, those fighters you know about are not our most advanced weapons. They're not even close. Tomorrow, you'll understand why Earth has never been conquered, and why these aliens just made the biggest mistake in galactic history. The call ended, leaving Jake staring at the screen. Outside, the night sky was filled with the lights of alien ships. They looked like new stars, but Jake knew they were weapons pointed at his home. In 6 days, those ships would either leave peacefully or attack. Jake had been trained to believe that humanity would fight bravely, but probably lose. But General Carter's confidence suggested something else entirely. Something that made Jake wonder if the aliens had chosen the wrong planet to threaten. As he looked up at the enemy fleet, Jake felt a strange sense of anticipation. Tomorrow, he would learn the truth about Earth's real defenses. And somehow, he suspected that the aliens were about to learn it too. Ambassador Claire Thompson walked through the corridors of the Galactic Council station with calm confidence. Her small delegation included military advisor Colonel Steve Martinez and diplomatic attached Dr. Patricia Johnson. Behind them followed a security detail of 4 Marines, their dress uniforms crisp and their expressions alert. The aliens they passed in the hallway stared at them with a mixture of curiosity and fear. For most of these beings, this was their first time seeing humans in person. The species they had dismissed as primitives just weeks ago were now walking through their most important political center as equals. Ambassador, whispered Dr. Johnson, the level of security around us is extraordinary. They have guards from 6 different species watching our every move. Claire nodded slightly. They're scared. They don't know what we're capable of, and fear makes people do unpredictable things. Stay alert, but don't appear threatening. Chancellor Mektar was waiting for them in the main council chamber. His tentacles moved nervously as he watched the human delegation approach. He had spent the last week reviewing everything the council knew about humanity, which turned out to be embarrassingly little. Ambassador Thompson, he said through the universal translator, "Welcome to the Galactic Council. I am Chancellor Mektar." "Thank you, Chancellor," Claire replied. "We appreciate the opportunity to address the Council directly. Please understand that this is a very unusual situation. Humanity was not scheduled to make formal contact with galactic civilization for several decades, if at all." Claire smiled politely. "Chancellor, with respect, humanity has been in contact with galactic civilization for over a century. We have simply chosen not to announce our presence until now." The statement hung in the air like a challenge. Mektar's tentacles curled tighter as he processed the implications. "You have been monitoring our communications?" "Among other things, yes. We have found it useful to understand our galactic neighbors before introducing ourselves." Colonel Martinez stepped forward slightly. "Chancellor, if I may suggest, perhaps we should move to the formal session. Ambassador Thompson has a presentation that will clarify many of the Council's concerns." An hour later, the full Galactic Council was assembled. Representatives from 47 civilizations filled the Great Chamber, their attention focused on the small human delegation standing at the center. Claire activated her presentation device, and holographic displays appeared throughout the chamber. "Honorable members of the Galactic Council," she began, "I am here to formally announce humanity's presence in galactic civilization and to address the concerns that have been raised about our expansion activities." The first hologram showed a timeline of human space exploration dating back 150 years. The aliens watched in growing amazement as the display revealed the true scope of human activities. Contrary to your intelligence reports, humanity achieved practical interstellar travel 87 years ago. We have been conducting deep space exploration and scientific research throughout the galaxy ever since. Admiral Valderin leaned forward in his seat. "Why did you hide your capabilities?" "We didn't hide them," Claire replied. "We simply didn't advertise them. When you are the smallest nation in a neighborhood full of empires, it is wise to understand the situation before making yourself known." The next hologram showed the location of all 17 human colonies. The display included population figures, industrial capacity, and defensive capabilities. The numbers were staggering. Our colonies currently house a total population of 42 million humans. Each colony is completely self-sufficient and capable of defending itself. Together, they represent the largest single expansion of intelligent life in the galaxy in the past 2 centuries. Representative Zixtal of the Mistari transmitted an angry message. "You have illegally occupied our sacred moon." Claire turned to face the energy beam directly. "Representative Zixtal, I understand your concern about Eldara's moon. However, our legal research indicates that the Mistari never filed a formal claim with the Galactic Council for that moon. Under Article 15 of the Galactic Settlement Treaty, unclaimed celestial bodies are available for colonization by any spacefaring species." Dr. Johnson stepped forward with a datapad. We have here the complete filing records from the Galactic Council archives. No formal claim was ever submitted for Eldara's moon, despite the mystery's cultural connection to the site. Furthermore, Claire continued, our colonists have preserved all sacred sites and ancient temples on the moon. We have even established a joint archaeological program with Mystari scholars to study and protect your cultural heritage. The Mystari representatives glowed dim as she processed this information. The humans had not only followed galactic law, but had gone out of their way to respect Mystari culture. Representative Gornek of the Kralik Syndicate stood up, his massive frame towering over the other delegates. What about Vortex Prime? We have been planning to develop those asteroids for 50 years. Representative Gornek, Claire replied calmly, planning is not the same as claiming. The Kralik Syndicate conducted surveys of Vortex Prime, but never established any permanent presence or filed development claims. Our mining operations began 32 years ago and have been conducted in full compliance with galactic mining regulations. Colonel Martinez activated another display. Our asteroid habitats in Vortex Prime currently house 6.8 million humans and produce enough refined materials to supply 12 star systems. We have invested over 2 trillion credits in infrastructure development. You cannot simply take our resources. Gornek roared. We are not taking anything, Claire said firmly. We are developing resources that were not being used. Under galactic law, unused resources can be claimed and developed by any species willing to invest the time and effort required. Chancellor Mektar raised one of his tentacles. Ambassador Thompson, the Council is concerned about humanity's intentions. You have established a significant presence throughout the galaxy without consulting with existing governments. What are your goals? Claire had been expecting this question. Chancellor, our goals are simple. We want to secure a place for humanity among the galactic community. We want to trade freely with other civilizations. We want to contribute to scientific advancement and cultural exchange. And we want to ensure that humanity has the resources and security needed to survive and prosper. And if we refuse to accept your presence? The question came from Representative Korthik of the warrior clans. His species was known for solving problems through military action. Claire's expression remained calm, but her voice carried a subtle warning. Representative Korthik, we hope that won't be necessary. However, humanity has invested too much and come too far to simply abandon our colonies because other species disapprove of our success. Colonel Martinez stepped forward. Each human colony is capable of defending itself against significant military action. Our defensive systems have been tested and proven effective. We prefer peace, but we are prepared for other alternatives. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. The humans were not asking for permission to exist in galactic civilization. They were announcing their presence and stating their terms for coexistence. Dr. Johnson activated the final holographic display. Honorable Council members, we have prepared trade agreements, cultural exchange programs, and scientific cooperation treaties. We believe that humanity's presence in the galaxy can benefit all civilizations. We offer advanced agricultural techniques that can increase crop yields by 30%. We have developed new medical treatments that could extend the lifespans of most galactic species. Our industrial methods are more efficient than current galactic standards. Claire concluded her presentation. We are not here to conquer or dominate. We are here to join galactic civilization as equals. We have proven our capability to survive and prosper among the stars. Now we invite you to work with us to build a better future for all species. Chancellor Mektar looked around the chamber at the faces of the other representatives. Some appeared angry, others confused, and a few seemed genuinely interested in what the humans were offering. Ambassador Thompson, the Council will need time to consider your presentation. This is an unprecedented situation that requires careful deliberation. Of course, Chancellor. However, I should mention that 17 more human colony ships are currently en route to various destinations throughout the galaxy. Humanity's expansion will continue regardless of the Council's decision. As the human delegation left the chamber, the Council members sat in stunned silence. The species they had ignored for decades had just announced that they were now one of the largest civilizations in the galaxy, and there was nothing anyone could do to stop them. The age of human expansion had begun, and the galaxy would never be the same.